In high school, Neil Verma was the textbook definition of a loser. Skinny, awkward, glasses that slipped down his nose, and a stutter that made presentations his worst nightmare. Students didn't just ignore him, they targeted him. Especially Brandon Chase, the star quarterback. Brandon made it a daily ritual to humiliate Neil, tripping him in hallways, mocking his clothes, and even making a viral video titled, "Nerd Learns to Fly," after shoving Neil into a dumpster. The teachers, silent. The students, laughing. And Neil, he quietly took it all. But while they laughed, Neil watched. Listened. Learned. By the time senior year ended, Neil had vowed one thing: he would never be powerless again. 10 years later, New York City buzzed with life. On the 40th floor of a glass skyscraper, Vermatech's boardroom shimmered in clean, cold minimalism. At the head of the table sat Neil, now Neil Verma, the 29-year-old tech mogul whose AI company had just landed a $2.3 billion defense contract. Gone were the glasses. Replaced with laser-sharp vision, a custom-fitted black suit, and a quiet confidence that silenced rooms. He never spoke of his past. No social media, no interviews, only results. But one day, something interesting crossed his desk: a new batch of applications from Vermatech's career fair outreach program. He skimmed the list, until a name punched him in the gut. Brandon Chase. Same name, same hometown. Curious, Neil clicked. There he was. No football muscles. No swagger. Just a tired-looking man with a half-finished degree and years spent bouncing between warehouses and bartending gigs. Brandon had clearly peaked in high school and now was scrambling for a break. And he wanted one from Neil. Neil smiled. It wasn't warm. The interview. Brandon sat across from the HR panel, sweaty palms clinging to a worn-out resume. He had no idea who owned Vermatech. The receptionist had just called it a routine tech startup. Then the boardroom door opened. And in walked Neil. Brandon's face dropped like a stone. He blinked. And Neil. Good memory, Neil said smoothly, taking a seat across from him. But it's Mr. Verma now. Brandon laughed nervously. Dude, is this your company? Neil leaned back, folding his hands. Why don't we start the interview? The humbling. Brandon got the job, junior logistics analyst, bottom of the food chain. He didn't understand why Neil hired him. But he was grateful. Until the assignment started. Every project was grueling. Every deadline unfair. Every mistake, real or imagined, cost Brandon weekends, wages, and dignity. He mopped up coffee after meetings. He filed documents that led nowhere. He even had to rewrite warehouse reports in binary for a data migration test, which never existed. And Neil. He watched, silent and amused. Then came the final blow. Vermatech hosted a grand employee gala. All employees invited. Brandon showed up in his only decent suit. He was stopped at the entrance. Your name's not on the list, the doorman said. What? It has to be. I work here. Neil appeared behind him, sipping champagne. Actually, Brandon, this event's for full-time staff only. You're still on probation. Technically, just a temp. Brandon's face flushed red. His voice cracked. Why are you doing this, man? Neil leaned in, his voice icy. Remember the dumpster, the video, the laughter? I do. He walked away, leaving Brandon speechless under the city lights. The offer. The next day, Brandon submitted his resignation. He couldn't take the shame. He expected Neil to gloat. To mock him. But instead, Neil handed him an envelope. Inside was a check, $50,000. And a note. Greater than this is your severance. I needed you to feel the weight of what you did, not because I hate you, but because you never apologized. That's the real cost. Use this to start over. Maybe next time, don't be the villain in someone else's story. Mr. Verma. Brandon sat frozen. For the first time, he felt something worse than defeat, regret. Epilogue. Neil didn't look back. He had no interest in dragging revenge on forever. He simply wanted balance. Justice. He wasn't the awkward kid anymore. He was the man who turned scars into power, and laughter into fuel. They had laughed once. Now, they worked for him. Or walked away, humbled.